We might as well get started.
Excellent.
All right. Um, well, welcome everyone to the Washington County Coordinating Meeting on Monday, October 13th, 2025. First item on our agenda is public comment. Do we have anyone in the audience today who would like to provide public comment? If there is someone in the gallery, I guess is what we would call it, go ahead and raise your hand.
And we did not have anyone sign up in advance to testify or give
Okay.
comment.
Thank you. All right, we'll go ahead and move on to item 2 on our agenda. We have Kevin Teeter from attending on Mayor Beatty's behalf today. Welcome, Kevin. And Maureen Wolf is here with us from Mayor Wolf Mayor Pro Tem Wolf, I guess let me get that straight. We were talking about that the other day. Is here on behalf of Tigard and is Counselor Yee or Mayor, is he in the,
Designee.
yeah, is he in could we promote
Yes.
him to the panel as well?
Yeah, he is. And
Yeah.
I apologize, you all. We got into this weird 24-hour quirky zone where I'm still on tap and then he starts tomorrow.
Yeah. So, and for the benefit of the rest of the committee, I invited Yee to go ahead and attend as a panelist today, because can only help to get him up to speed as he takes on his new role. Welcome. I don't know whether to call you mayor or do I still have to call you counselor?
Either one's fine.
Okay. But you officially take on the role on tomorrow, correct?
That's right.
Okay, great. Awesome. So we want to go ahead and do a roll call, Stephen?
Yes. Let's do that. And then I just a quick point of order too, relative to the Tigard representative. So we'll anticipate at some point here in the near future getting a clarification about your intended primary and alternate designations for the committee whenever the time is right for that. So thank you. Okay. Well, we usually start with a roll call and I go by order of jurisdiction alphabetically. And so we'll start with Banks, Mayor Kirk.
Here.
Thank you. For Beaverton, I saw we have Councilor Teeter.
Yes, here.
Great, thank you. For Cornelius, Mayor Delane.
Present.
Thank you. Let's see, do we have someone from Durham? I don't think we do. All right. For Forest Grove, Mayor Wenzel.
Here.
Can't miss your background. It really jumps out. Let's see, for City of Hillsborough, Mayor Pace.
This is Rob Harris, Council President for Mayor Pace.
Excellent, thank you. Appreciate you being here. For King City, do we have a King City representative, Mayor Kazmersky? All right, we'll keep an eye out. For North Plains, Council President Dumbro.
Present.
Great. Oh, and I see someone's got their hand raised. iPhone.
Hi, this is Mayor Kazmersky, King City.
Excellent. Okay, great.
I apologize. I guess I need to change my name on there. Sorry about that.
No worries. Thanks for joining us. Okay. For Sherwood, Mayor Rosner.
I am here.
Excellent. Thank you. For Tigard, we have Council President Wolf.
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you. And for Tualatin, Mayor Bubenik.
Present.
Thank you. Wilsonville, Mayor O'Neill.
Oh, yep, here. Sorry, I couldn't get the unmute done.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. And for Washington County, Commissioner Fye.
I'm present, Stephen. I'll have my camera back on for a second, but I'm here.
All right, great. Thank you. And then for our non-voting members, I believe I saw Councilor Rosenthal.
I am here.
Thank you, sir. For ODOT, we have Stephanie Turner.
Yep, here.
Thank you. Port of Portland, Dan Eisenbeis.
Here. Good afternoon.
Thanks, Dan. And TriMet, I see John Sarah.
Present. Thank you, Stephen.
Yes, thank you all. Okay, that concludes the roll call.
All righty. Thank you, Stephen. So we got some action items we got to get through. today before we get to the heart of the meeting. Item A is consideration of the WCCC meeting minutes or summary for July 14th. Yeah, I'm assuming everyone had a chance to review that. Are there any changes or Scribner errors that anyone would like to bring up? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to approve the meeting summary.
I move to approve the meeting.
Same. I saw you getting your hand down, Melinda. It looks like motion passes. Thank you, everyone. The next,
And Tim,
yeah.
for the record, I need to abstain because I was not there, so I will abstain.
Okay,
that
great. And
matters.
okay, Kevin. Okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
this is Kevin. Sorry, Kevin
Yeah,
and
Councilor
Beaverton.
Peter. Thank you.
Yep.
Same with me, Mayor Kazmersky with King City. Thank you.
Thank you. I should have asked for the abstentions. Thanks. All right. Did you get all that, Stephen?
Say that Councilor Teeter does not want to take our word for it.
Oh, what was that, Commissioner? I didn't catch
You
all
don't
that.
want you don't want to take our word
Oh.
for it.
Ooh,
Yeah, I should.
getting called out.
Yeah, right.
Awesome. All right. So item B is for the Region 1 Act. We have 2 positions open on R1 Act. So we're seeking nominations. I understand that, and the reason these are open is we've been looking for a regional representative for a while now, and I think Mayor Pace has a nomination for that I believe Kevin will be acting on. And then we also have with former Mayor Lubes no longer being on the Region 1 Act, we need to fill that position as well. So, Councilor Teeter, I think Mayor Pace wanted to nominate Jen Klotz. Is that correct?
Actually, this is Rob Harris. I'm here for Mayor Pace.
I'm sorry, I'm getting them all confused.
That's okay.
It's Beaverton and Hillsborough. They'll kind of
It's the same thing. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yes. On behalf of Mayor Pace, I'd like to nominate Jennifer Klotz. Jennifer's been working at Genentech for maybe since they opened up here. I think she's also on this call, not as a panelist right now. She works in government relations, community involvement here in Washington County. I think also some in Multnomah County as well. She's been a resident and is a resident of Washington County. And so Mayor Pace encourages you to consider her nomination.
Yeah, and this will be filling the seat that Kristen Leichner from Pride is vacating, from my understanding.
Jared, do you need a second for that?
Well, just before we go there, just to be clear, there's 2 seats we're filling. So this is for the Stephen, help me out here. This is like business representation in the county.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, so because I know we have some interest from there's an elected or more of a city rep that we'll talk about in a second. So do we have any other nominations for this particular seat? All right, so with that,
I would like to second Jennifer, or do we even need to? No?
well, we'll need to make it official. So we have a nomination and a second from Mayor Wenzel. So we'll go ahead and vote. And Stephen, I believe we have to vote on that. So we'll go ahead and all those in favor of appointing or nominating Jen Klotz to the R1 Act, say aye, raise your hands.
Aye.
Aye. All right. All those opposed, do the same. Any abstentions? All right, motion passes. Thank you, everyone. So for the second seat here, this is the seat that former Mayor Lube had on the R1 Act. Currently, just to give everyone kind of the lay of the land, Councilor Young from Sherwood, or Council President Young from Sherwood, already has a seat on R1 Act. Mayor Wenzel has a seat. Mayor Bubenek and Commissioner Snyder all have seats. So currently on the committee, so we're filling this one vacant seat. Do we have any nominations? And Mayor Wolf, you have Mayor Pro Tem Wolf, you have your hand up.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I would like to see Tigard maintain that seat and would like to nominate Kang Hu moving forward. And I have some words to share, but I can pause on that if there's not additional nominations.
Any additional nominations for R1 Act? All right, seeing none, Mayor Pro Tem Wolf. Go
I'll
ahead.
second. Oh,
Oh, sorry.
Yes, I move to approve Mayor Designee Kang Hu for the Region 1 ACT open city seat.
And I'll second that, Chair.
All right, we have Mayor Pro Tem Wolf making the motion and nomination, and Mayor Wenzel seconding that. All those in favor, say aye and raise your hand. Aye.
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 All right. All those opposed, same. And seeing none, any abstentions? Seeing none, motion passes. Excellent. Congratulations. I'm going to call you Counselor Yee until it's official, if that's okay. Awesome. All right. And I think that covers everything for Region 1 acts. So we'll move on to JPAC. Per the JPAC bylaws, this process is run by the mayor of the largest city in the county. So typically I turn it over to Mayor Pace. But Rob, you're in for Mayor Pace, so
I would defer to Mayor Rosen.
I can run it if you're okay with that.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, great. All right, so we're seeking nomination for someone to serve as the alternate representative for cities of Washington County, or other cities for Washington County is at JPAC to serve the remainder of the term previously held by Mayor Lube. I know Mayor Bubanek has expressed interest in that position. Do we have any other nominations? I'll nominate Mayor Bubanek, but I want to see if there's any other nominations out there. Or if someone else would like to nominate Mayor Bubanek, but I can make that nomination. Is there a second?
Oh, I was gonna, yeah, either way, I was gonna nominate him or do a second for.
Okay, I'll let you have the nomination.
Okay, so I
Any
would like to
seconds out there?
nominate, yeah, I'd like to nominate Tualatin Mayor Bubanek as our alternate for JPAC.
Awesome.
I can second it.
All right, Mayor Wenzel made the nomination and Commissioner Fye made the second. We'll go ahead and vote then. All those in favor, raise your hand, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
And then all those opposed, same. And any abstentions? Looks like it's unanimous, Frank. Congrats.
Thank you. As I mentioned to Jeff, the band's back together again, me and Jeff.
Awesome. All right, so we'll get through. We got one more here, and we're going to talk about later on. We're going to have a conversation about the MTAC representative as a agenda item. But for MPAC, we have the cities in Washington County outside the UGB non-voting member for MPAC to nominate and recommend to MPAC. That was formerly held by the mayor of North Plains. And I believe Mayor Kirk has volunteered to take on this role. I don't think we have, do we have any other cities that are outside the UGB in Washington County?
That's here.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Awesome.
Mayor Wenzel, you had your hand up for a second. You're good. Well, we have a volunteer and it's I think Mayor Wenzel's beat you out just by a little tiny bit. All those in favor of nominating Mayor Kirk to serve as the other city in Washington County outside the UBG on MPAC, say aye. Raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. All those opposed, same. And any abstentions?
Just a question of procedure, Tim. It's
Yeah.
interesting that the cities inside just voted for the one city outside instead of the three cities outside appointing their rep.
That is an interesting.
Well, Aaron raised his hand, right?
Oh, Eric, yeah.
And I wasn't sure if I was supposed to vote.
I think Mayor Kirk would do well, so North Plains definitely supports that.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't see somebody from North Plains this year. I missed that
No
earlier.
worries.
That is definitely, although we're all in Washington County. How's that?
He's alphabetically after you, Jeff.
All right. All right. Congratulations, Mayor Kirk.
Thank you all.
All right. And then the last item on our action items is our TDT project list amendments. And we have, I'm going to mispronounce your name, so I apologize. Is it, well, why don't you tell me before I get it wrong?
Good afternoon. Diame Valentine. I'm the
thank you.
Transportation
Go ahead and take it
Planning-
away.
Thanks. Transportation Planning Section Manager with the Land Use and Transportation. And in your packet, we have a kind of now annual transportation development tax proposed project list amendment. And so we are seeking your recommendation to the Washington County Board of Commissioners for proposed amendments to that project list. The packet includes the full list with those amendments, which include 51 proposed amendments to the road project list. And these are changes that come from Washington County and the cities of Banks, Portland, and Tualatin, and is also inclusive of 12 new projects for the transit project list. And the WCCC TAC, your Transportation Advisory Committee, recommended approval at its October 2nd meeting, or recommended approval, at October 2nd meeting. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions on this? Fairly routine. There's no questions. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right. Mayor Wenzel made the motion. Mayor Kirk seconded it. All those in favor of approving the amended projects list for the TDT, say aye. Raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same. Any abstentions? Motion passes. Thank you. All right, now we'll move into information and discussion. First item we have is the Regional Emergency Transportation Routes Phase 2 update. I'd like to introduce John Merman from Metro, who's going to provide us an update. John, take it away.
So Chair, we don't have John with us yet. You've been so efficient with your time. You're now about 15 minutes ahead of schedule. So if you're okay, I think we might just move on. I think I see our TriMet folks are here. If we want to move on to the TriMet budget and service cuts outreach topic.
TriMet, are you guys ready?
I think so. Thanks, Stephen. Thanks, Chair Rosner. I've got our Service Planning Director, Tom Mills, joining us today to discuss TriMet's budget situation and our need for upcoming service cuts, as well as the public outreach that we are embarking upon to get feedback from all of our partner jurisdictions.
Used to be in John's role, attending the meeting regularly 10 years ago, and so it's great to be back and good to see some of the old faces and meet some of the new faces. As John mentioned, my name is Tom Mills. I am the Service Planning Director at TriMet. And today I'm going to talk to you about TriMet's budget situation. Well, I'm going to talk about where we've been the last couple of years, our budget situation, and then where we're going in terms of the TriMet service cuts. I'm going to go ahead and share my slides here. Okay, can everyone let me know when you can see them?
We're seeing like your not the presenter view, but the other view.
Okay, let me put it in presentation view here. Let's see. Did that work?
Still seeing the same
Oh,
view.
okay.
Now I'm
Slide
seeing
includes your notes, Tom.
Yeah. I see that.
Oh wait, I can switch screens here.
That's right.
Swap presenter view and slideshow. There you go. How's that?
There you go.
Okay, we got it. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay, so what I want to do today is talk a little bit about a program you've probably heard a little bit about already at TriMet that we've been pursuing over the last year. It's called Forward Together. And then, as I mentioned, we'll talk a little bit about our budget situation and the service cuts. Some of you may remember, I know there have been other presentations about Forward Together. It was our response, it has been our response to the pandemic and the market changes that occurred as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic and the rise of work from home working arrangements. So, prior to the COVID-19 pandemic, a large percentage of our ridership used to ride to work every day in the morning and go home every day in the afternoon. And a lot of that was towards downtown Portland. Since the pandemic, with the rise of work from home, we've saw a lot of that ridership fall away. And so Forward Together was an effort it has been an effort to reallocate that service. Actually, what it was is during the pandemic, we cut a lot of that peak service, that peak commute service. And then post-pandemic, we started adding it back, but we didn't add it back in the peak, and we didn't necessarily add it back to downtown Portland. We started adding it back around the region, particularly out in the suburbs, and particularly in areas where people earn low incomes or where there were high minority communities. And so that's what has been happening. Now, we never really got to the full reallocation of service. So our service hasn't come back. We're at about 91% of where we were pre-pandemic service levels. So we never really got all the way there. There was more to do. And then Forward Together had hoped to do even more. So our plans were to go 10% above the service levels we were in 2019, but we didn't quite get there. However, we did implement quite a lot of improvements, and some of which we did in Washington County, which I'll show you in a second here. But it was always a financially constrained service concept, and as we have, as our financial forecast has changed, we've had to put the brakes on that and suspend further increases in service. So let me show you real quickly. So what did we do during the Forward Together outreach? You can see here quite a bit in Washington County highlighted in those green thick lines. We added 2 frequent service lines, line 48 on Cornell and line 54 on BH Highway. 2 lines were rerouted to go to Markham Hill to serve both OHSU and the VA. Prior to that, you could only get to Markham Hill from the west side by either taking an express bus that was only in the morning and only in the afternoon serving the commute, or you had to go all the way to downtown Portland and then go back up. This way, all day long, people can get up to the hill to get to the medical services they need. We increased service between Sherwood and Tiger to every 20 minutes. We rerouted buses so that they now go on to the Intel, I believe it's now called the Gordon Moore campus, formerly the Ronler Acres campus. We added some morning service in Bethany along Bethany Boulevard down to the Merlo Max station. We extended a line 76, which actually was upgraded to frequent service just before the pandemic. We extended that line to go to Oregon City only every hour, so it's not frequent service. But there now is that connection to Oregon City. And of course, the big one, of course, is the Red Line extension to Hillsborough Airport Fair Complex Station. Now you have a one-seat ride to the PDX, but not only that, but that increase the frequency of MAX service west of Beaverton Transit Center all the way to Hillsborough Airport Fair Complex Station. So we've been working on Forward Together 1, but also that was kind of our financially constrained. We've been working on something else called Forward Together 2.0, and that was really kind of our unfinancially constrained, right? Thinking about in the way we think about the RTP, what could we do if we had more money? That was Forward Together 2.0. And then at the same time, we've been working on an FX system plan. So, kind of similar to the high capacity transit plan. If FX is our future high capacity, where really should the FX lines go? Unfortunately, because of our fiscal situation, we are not moving forward on all of these anymore. But we're kind of grouping them together into something we call Forward Together, the road ahead. And that really is our, as we look towards the RTP, that's really going to be our unconstrained strategic scenario that we'll be forwarding to Metro for the RTP. So let's talk a little bit about TriMet's budget forecasts and the impacts on service. So as you see here, our operating costs have increased by 53% since 2019. Since 2019. Let me talk a little bit about that before I go into further. Well, you can see here, the second bullet, our fare revenue has not fully recovered. So talking about what I was talking before, previously people would get up in the morning, they'd ride to work, and then they'd get off work and they'd ride home. Some of that commute has come back. A lot of businesses are now hybrid, so they are maybe in the office 3 days a week, maybe 2 days a week, but that's still, 2 to 3 days where people are not in the office and they aren't riding. And so that is less fare revenue that we're receiving. And as I mentioned, we've started to reallocate a lot of that service to areas where maybe it's not your typical 9 to 5 commute. Maybe it's a retail worker who doesn't start until 10 and they work till 6 o'clock at night. Or maybe they work on a Saturday. So that's where a lot of the Forward Together improvements have been focused. But still, we're not at the fare revenue levels that we were previously. Of course, our operating costs, I'm sure you're all experiencing the same thing. Both your operating and your capital costs have increased, as have ours, and we're all dealing with inflation. I would also like to point out that we've been dealing with a bit of a kind of epidemic of vandalism. You may have seen it on bus stop shelters that have been smashed or spray painted. We're trying to keep up with that and not just let those sit like that, because then that's just going to turn people off more. But that has become a cost pressure for us. Additionally, security on the system. We have tripled our budget for security on the TriMet system. If you ride MAX today, you are more likely to see a TriMet safety operator or safety person on the vehicle than you've ever had in its entire time. Well, since 1998, when we first extended MAX to Washington County. But that comes with a big cost. And then finally, I'll mention that we have a large maintenance backlog that is the bill is finally coming due. So for example, this next year, the East Side MAX will be 40 years old. And believe it or not, in 3 years, the West Side MAX is going to be 30 years old. So, parts have to be replaced. We were able to receive federal money to build these projects, but you don't get federal money to fix them and keep them in good working order. And so the time has finally come. We are now a legacy transit system, and it's time that we replace a lot of these parts on the system that need to be replaced. And if you've ridden MAX in the last few years, you've noticed there have been times when we shut the MAX down and there's a bus bridge and for about a week or so, and then we open it up. That's us doing that work. So with regard to the special session, I think everyone's probably familiar that the bill passed. However, the funding is only temporary. We certainly appreciate that, but we can't do long-term planning for that without knowing for sure. And then, of course, you probably have heard that the bill is now possibly going to be referred to the voters. So if that is the case, then the funding for that is going to be on hold. So that also puts more pressure on our budget. What we're trying to do here is close a gap of about an average of about $300 million a year. Now that's over a 15-year period. So over 15 years, if we didn't do anything, the gap would, especially when you factor in inflation, the gap would be an average of 300 million. So that's what we're trying to close. We won't necessarily be cutting 300 million in the next 2 years, but again, that is the average with inflation and a few other things kind of baked in there over between now and 2040. And then lastly, I want to mention that we are making significant cuts to our administration. We have done some already. There's some big ones that are still to come. Probably by the end of the year, we'll hear about that, and that's still to come. But that said, we still need to cut a minimum of 10% of service by the end of 2027. And we are looking to do that in 2 separate cuts. So one in 2026 and one in 2027. I'm trying to advance my slide here. Oops, let's do that. Oh, wait, sorry, I'm having technical difficulties here. Let's see if that works. Okay. So in regards to service cuts, we are going to start with some very small service cuts. They actually add up to about 1 percentage point of those 10 percentage points that we have to get to. And they are so small that they are at the, we don't even need to take board action to make these happen, but it is just like kind of a nice start for us to get going. So in November 30th, we will be cutting some trips on our FX2 division. That's the FX has a service standard of running every 12 minutes. And, right now that runs until about 10 o'clock at night, every 12 minutes. We're going to shave that down so that it's only every 12 minutes from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. when most of our riders are riding. Afterwards, it will run every 24 to 35 minutes. And then for lines 35, McAdam, Greeley, in Washington County, really the only one that impacts you is line 52, Farmington 185th. After 9 p.m., rather than running every 30 minutes, they will run hourly. And then in March, we're going to make some other small cuts to some of the frequent service lines. The two that impact your community are lines 48 and 75. Again, those are going to be, kind of cherry picking some lower ridership trips, mostly early morning and later at night.
I'm betting you meant 78, not 75. 75 was Cesar Chavez.
Oops, I'm sorry. I meant 76.
76.
76. Yeah. So sorry. Thank you. And then in regards to our service cuts timeline, so I mentioned November 30th, that the triangles show that when the actual cuts go into effect. So November 30th being the first one, March 1st being the second one. That blue bar shows our outreach timeline. We've already started our outreach for the cuts, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a second. So then the first set of larger cuts will happen in 2026. A year from now, we'll be starting to talk about specifically about the cuts for 2027. That's that blue bar, and then they will go into effect in late 2027. In terms of decision making, so at
Could I
least for
ask a
that,
quick question before you move on?
yeah.
Because you've talked a lot about cuts, and I think you're mentioned your costs are going up at about a 7.7% IRR, or that's the wrong term, going up about 7% a year to get that 56% number. How much of your rates gone up? I mean, is there a conversation about rates as well?
What do you, I'm not sure what you mean by rates. Are you talking about like payroll, like
Fares.
what we pay? Oh,
No,
fares.
fares.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Yes, that is coming. So that has been mentioned to at I believe it was at the July board meeting that we will likely be pursuing an increase in fares.
Have your fares since 2019 been rising at the same rate as your costs?
No, they haven't.
So that's part of the challenge as well. I know raising fares has implications, but I'm just curious where that at. And then one last question on your capital
Oh,
expenditures for,
actually, I'm sorry to interrupt. We did
yeah,
raise fares. I believe it was 2022 they went into effect. I
okay.
apologize for that. But that was the only fare
That was
increase.
only fair
Yeah.
increase. And I was just curious on your capital side, when you're looking at like bus replacements and stuff like that, um, and the analogy I'll use, we just had pretty significant increases in our garbage rates because we've been buying electric garbage trucks, which are 3 times the cost of a CNG truck. And part of the challenge there was that we didn't get a grant. So I'm just curious, are we taking a close look at some of those buying decisions
Yes.
to make sure we're being good stewards?
Yes, that's you're getting ahead of us a bit, but there will probably be more news within the next, 6 months or so about our commitment to zero emission vehicles. Not that we aren't still pursuing it, but we're probably going to be extending out the timeline. And the truth of the matter is, if we're having to cut service, we're not really having to buy new buses. So we're going to be slowing down that effort.
Okay. John, you have your hand up.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I just wanted to add to the fare conversation. I think we last increased our fare in 2023 by 30 cents for a low-income rider and 60 cents for a standard fare. And I would just say that that was an extremely difficult conversation to have with our community members. We had a lot of pushback against that. And our ridership is still down. So there's a lot of factors as to why that hasn't been the solution to our problem. And it's just a very challenging conversation for us to have, one that we should have, and it sounds like we will continue to be having, but there's a lot of factors there as well. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so in terms of the outreach process that we're currently in right now, we do have a process that's underway. It will close on October 31st, and then we will use November and December to look at what we heard and develop a specific proposal that will actually mention what lines and what types of cuts we want to make. That proposal will just be for the FY27 cuts, or the cuts that will occur in 2026, I should say. It won't be for all cuts that we need to make over the next 2 years. So that outreach proposal will be available January 5th. That proposal will be available January 5th, and we will launch another outreach process for that. Based on what we hear, we will refine the proposal further. And then in March, we will take an ordinance to our board. It has to go through 2 readings, so March and then April, the board will make a decision. Our budget is adopted in May, and then on November 29th of 2026 is when that first set of larger cuts will go into effect.
Commissioner Fye, you have a question?
Yeah, I do. Thank you. Sorry to interrupt your cadence to your presentation, but I just didn't want to lose this question of your previous slide, if you could go back.
Sure.
And I'm wondering if it's probably hard further down the line, but the immediate impact of 2025 and 2026, I'm wondering if you could quantify that, or how could you, what would you say to me as a writer, as a bus writer, what these impacts mean as a resident for Washington County?
Sure. So actually, well, why don't I back up a little bit? So I think this is the slide you like to see. So as I mentioned, we have to get to a 10% cut. These cuts are projected to be about 1% of that 10%, or 1 percentage point of the 10%. So as somebody who lives in Washington County, we're talking about 3 bus lines that could impact you. They are more likely to impact you if you ride later at night after 9 p.m. Or early in the morning. And that would be the bus line that serves Farmington and 185th Avenue, the bus line that's about line 52, line 48 on Cornell, and line 76 on Hall and Greenberg.
Okay. By the way, the material furbished on the online, this slide does not include. I didn't, the information that.
Didn't include this slide?
Slide, so.
Oh, I apologize. I thought this slide was in the presentation.
Yeah, I don't see it. I think Stephen, you can comment it, but I was following you along with this and then I didn't see that.
Oh, okay.
And then we moved on, which is, I was like,
well,
let's go back to it and address it.
That is probably on us, so I apologize for that.
It's okay. No, it's okay. We can just update the presentation.
Sure.
Would any of the service cuts, I know there's some in the pipeline, some improvements around safety improvements on transit centers, and will that also impact if there is a transit center that needs some lighting? So are all those on hold too then?
So we have been making safety improvements around our transit service, our transit centers. Actually, Beaverton Transit Center is about to go under construction, and so that is still moving forward. And I don't know enough about it to know what the lighting improvements are. I imagine if there is a need for improvements, then there will be more lighting. But one of probably the most visible thing will be a new operator report area that used to be in the middle of the island. It's now actually going to be where the bike corral was, and there'll be more bays for more buses in the future. But I can look into whether there'll be more lighting as a result of that.
And Commissioner Fye, I would just add that those improvements that you're talking about, a lot of those are federally funded through grants. And we have worked very hard over the last year to protect that funding to make sure that those projects can continue to move forward, even in light of these budget situations that we're talking about here.
Thank you. I just saw a resident yesterday that was relaying some of the experience they had on when there was a safety incident and they had to be dropped off to the Beaverton Creek Transit Center, and how that was very unsafe to this person who was identified as a woman, and how scared she was. She was just relaying. So some of those improvements, I'm very grateful and let us know what we can do to further advocate too.
Thanks.
All right.
So yeah, I'm probably taking up too much time. I'll keep it going here. So
we have a couple more questions here before you move on.
Oh, okay. Sure.
Yeah, Councilor Rosenthal.
Yeah, thanks. Just one quick question I have to ask about Route 96. I had heard rumors that Route 96 was going to be discontinued. It's a connection to 76, 97, and of course, to some extent to Wilsonville. So but I didn't see it on the list. So is that going to be maintained at its current level?
So Route 97, couple things. I just want to confirm the list that you saw is just the initial small cuts. There are bigger cuts coming, and that's what we're talking to the community about. In regards to Route 96, the Route 96 is not planned to go away. It was planned to come off the freeway and use Boone's Ferry Road so that we have an opportunity to pick up more people. So we would still have Route 96, but it wouldn't necessarily go away. That was the plan. Now that has been deferred based on what we heard from the community and our riders, and over the year since it's been deferred, we've been tracking ridership. It has to reach a certain threshold in order to stay on the freeway. If it doesn't, then it may still go over to Boone's Ferry Road. Now that was all before our financial forecast told us we need to make cuts. So there could still be some additional changes to line 96, all the way up to possibly it going away. But again, we are not yet at the point where we're going to be talking about specific lines. So we can get to that. But I can respond to other questions, or I can run to the red.
Just real quick, because we are starting to run out of time here. Mayor O'Neill.
Thank you. As part of this outreach, you've asked in the survey for the following options: stop funding county shuttles that serve areas where few people ride transit, and stop funding support to other transit agencies that connect with TriMet services. And I guess what I want to know is, how has TriMet been reaching riders of those county shuttles and smaller transit agencies to participate in that survey?
That's a great question. We haven't actively, made efforts at the bus stops where those shuttles operate.
That, to me, excuse me, that appears to be fairly disingenuous if you're not looping them in as part of this dialogue and communication. In fact, it's critical. So and to me, TriMet focusing on the TriMet district, to me, that's unacceptable.
Well, I can commit to making sure that we do an outreach to those folks.
Would like to have a report on your efforts on that.
Sure.
Thanks.
And Mayor O'Neill, I would also add that we would love your help reaching out to these folks. I think everyone in this room should have received an email from me detailing this situation, as well as a request to get this information out to your constituents and our riders in your community. It is essential that we hear from all of your constituents as we make these decisions. So any way that you can help us get this information out, we would very much appreciate. I'm happy to work with you on that as well to ensure that this is getting out to everyone, because we want to hear from everyone.
Have you talked with Dwight at SMART?
I have.
Okay. Well, we look forward to that. I don't think that communication has been going as smoothly as it should. So I hope we will loop them in. Thanks.
You're welcome.
This is typically where I insert my standard stump speech on scientific polling versus just passing a survey around. You just don't get accurate information, and it tends to be weighted by whoever sends the email around the most. So I would highly encourage you to look at more scientific methodologies for really querying the communities and what they want. Mayor Pro Tem Wolf.
Thank you, Chair, and I'll be fast. I know Tigard, I pushed it forward and we did promote the request to participate, but I appreciate Chair's concerns. My question or comment really applies to this slide on, as you're thinking about how you cut, I just want to advocate for those that rely heavily, that are walking to a service line to get where they need to be at a longer scale, that's considered as well as that impact of taking away kind of a sole service for people to get where they need to be around the regional area. So that was just my kind of advocacy. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And I was just informed by Stephen that it looks like because of some scheduling, I won't get into it, but we have more time. I'll just put it that way. So
good.
Mayor DeLynn.
Long as we're sharing feedback, yeah, I think reducing frequency is the right answer, right? Not service span or especially not coverage, right? We fought so hard. I think about like the shuttle service in Cornelius. We fought so hard. We're still actually installing bus stops and doing things like that to limit those kind of span or coverage area. Coverage area ones would be horrific. And there's the cascade, right? I think maybe Tigard was talking about that a little bit. Once you start pulling back that coverage, then you also affect the paratransit and dial-a-ride, which is required to be within half a mile of the route. So I think we really need to look at that with a very sharp eye before we consider any reductions in coverage. And then, like we said, I can't go forward without saying it. Reductions in the light of a 2x increase on the individual employers. It's tone deaf beyond words. I understand you guys got to make it, but really need to look at your operational stuff because you're going, like you said, in light of it was looking at 3x. Now it's going 2x, even if it's temporary. I think there's some wake-up calls that need to happen down at TriMet. And I would be remiss, and I'm going to just walk around here on a couple other points that I had in my notes. It only took almost 30 years for Intel, one of the biggest payers in the region, to get a bus on campus. That kind of service cannot continue. And we wonder why we're having problems. We've got $1 million payer down in Lamb Research, and there's no way to get to Lamb from the bus system. So you got $1 million payer that's not being served. So I think we really need to look at some operational stuff here on where these coverages go. And if I'm going to go ahead and be brutally honest with you and continue my brutal honesty, I was talking with the staff. The city of Hillsborough alone pays 10 to 12% of the tax for operations, yet only receives 3 to 4% of the service. And I haven't got the numbers to back it up, but I bet you across the west side, that is universal. Talking to my friends on the east side, they can walk 3 or 4 blocks in any direction and get on a bus. We really need to look about where we make these cuts so that they're more equitable to everyone involved. And I know we all consider the bus a necessity. I don't think anyone will argue that, but I think we really need to look at the operational excellence and do some real planning on this. Because if you're this far back, if you're talking $300 million backwards, there needs to be some very large and honest discussions and how you're going to work your way out of that operationally. So thank you for taking the time.
Thank you.
And I just want to give a big second to everything Mayor DeLynn just said. That's part of our challenge out here in Sherwood. We have bus Route 94 that comes through our town, and it is empty most of the time, even when we increase the services. And the problem is, and I've said it before, we have 9,000 people that leave our city every day to work, and the transportation system is not going to where they work. It's not going over to the work centers in Hillsborough, Aloha, Nike, Intel, just to name a few. So, I would highly encourage you. I think you could, if there was a express line that went from Sherwood to Alton area over to the work centers in around Hillsborough and Aloha, you'd get high ridership and a lot of fares on that. So I would encourage you to also think about, as you talked about in the beginning of the meeting, a lot of people moved out of the downtown core to work from home, a lot of people moved out of the downtown core and are still commuting to work. It's not all just work from home. So, Mary Delenn, I love those numbers. I'm going to steal some of those. Thank you. Anyways, John.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to respond quickly to a couple of the comments made by Mayor Delenn. First of all, always appreciate your honesty and your willingness to have this conversation with us. Specifically to a couple of your comments, the issue with the bus line on Intel, for a long time, Intel did not actually want us to have a bus line on their property due to issues with allowing people that don't work at Intel onto their property. So that was a much more complicated situation than just TriMet not being willing to do so. And that's something that we were pushing for decades, and we're finally successful in doing so. We're really proud of having been able to do that, and understandably that it doesn't look great to people outside the situation that it took us that long, but there's a reason why it took us that long. Second, in terms of the payroll increase that happened at the state legislature, that is an employee payroll tax increase, not an employer payroll tax increase. Someone who makes $50,000 a year, I think their taxes increase by about $4 a month. So doubling it goes from about $4 to $8 for someone making $50,000 a year. Understanding that's significant to people, but that's the scale of what we're looking at here. I think you had another comment that I wanted to respond to, but I can't remember off the top of my head. If there's something else you want to chat about, just give me a call. Mayor Rosner, you had also mentioned that you'd like to see more scientific polling conducted by TriMet. I just want to assure you that we do have a scientific polling department here at TriMet. We have 2 or 3 people that work in that department. They're involved in this survey. I don't think the survey that you all are taking right now is the scientific survey, but I can check in with that department to see what scientific work is being done on this and all the other things that we continually poll our riders and customers and your community members on.
Yeah, and just to re-amplify what Mayor O'Neill said, just make sure as they look at the scientific side that we're capturing the service areas that are currently handled by shuttles that TriMet doesn't operate.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, thank you.
Stephen.
Just really quickly, I just wanted to note that one of the shuttle services that Washington County operates with Ride Connection down in the Tualatin area does serve the Lamb Research Facility. So we do have some capacity to try to get folks to and from some of those destinations that aren't on the mainline service. And so, as there are service cuts required, of course, we're interested in trying to do what we can to try to help maintain those supplemental services as well.
Thanks, Stephen.
Great. Any other questions for our friends from TriMet?
Mayor Kirk has her hand up.
Oh, Mayor Kirk, sorry.
Yes, I just wanted to make sure, since all of you have the nice orange and green buses coming through your town, remember, I only have Ride Connection. And also, please do not take the subsidy away from Tillamook. Because the Tillamook line, once it gets to Banks, actually, you don't get charged going into Portland, and that's one of our major providers. But yes, the 2 ride connections that we have, especially because probably in the next 5 years we'll be going to be tripling in size. We're already talking about adding extra, believe it or not, extra pickup locations along Main Street. And we haven't even hardly broke ground yet. So please make sure the Banks doesn't lose anything. Thank you.
And I can respond to that real quickly. So Banks isn't going to lose any service. Because TriMet doesn't actually fund provide funding to either of those services. So the Ride Connection service is actually it's part of the employee payroll tax STIF that is generated outside the TriMet district, and so Washington County receives that money and manages that money. So that money won't be affected by TriMet's fiscal challenges, and we don't currently give money to the Tillamook. I think it's called the Tillamook Wave service that goes through Banks. So again, that should just be steady, and none of that will be impacted by TriMet's current situation.
Okay, originally I was told that Tillamook did get subsidy from Banks into Portland, but
They
They
may.
continue their service, and they said it came from you guys.
Okay. That I okay. Well, I can look into that, but I'm almost positive that is not the case. That I believe they're probably getting subsidy somewhere else.
Okay, yeah, they had said it was the few times I've actually ridden it. They said that it was from TriMet, and they do stop in North Plains and several locations before they turn around at Union Station.
Okay.
We'll figure that out for you, Mayor Kirk, and follow up with you.
Great. Stephen.
Just one other thought too. I was thinking about someone mentioned the stiff payroll tax increase, and I was thinking maybe if Tom or John, do you guys have like a ballpark sense of how much the stiff contributes towards your overall sort of operating budget?
Yeah, it's approximately 50 million a year right now.
Out of like percent wise?
Oh, I mean, I believe our operating budget is around 700 and some million
Yeah,
per year.
I just thought it was helpful to have the context around the amount of the stiff funding relative to the overall operating budget.
Is that 50 million the current level or the expanded level?
That's the current level.
Okay, so that will approximately double for the next 2 years?
Should it not go to the voters and get voted down, then yes.
Okay.
And then
I'd also add to that point that if it does get referred to the voters, that also delays when we get that funding, and that funding is not retroactive. So all of the funding lost between when it would be implemented until the election would just be lost to us.
And I just wanted to follow up on Mayor Kirk's question too around the subsidy funding that helps with riders coming into banks from Tillamook, and that's money that comes from Ride Connection. Actually, they provide some federal funds that support that service.
Great, thank you. Any other questions or comments or
Mayor Rosner?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think Stephen maybe tickled something that maybe I'd see if the rest of the group has an interest in. Maybe it's a little better understanding of where some of this commute money comes from, right? Because we've got YAC, we've got the Tillamook one that comes in, and then a little more of an understanding of those supplemental services and shuttle services, where some of that stuff is coming from. I don't know, maybe I'm the only one that's interested in kind of look at the funding of these transportations. 2 cents.
I can respond to some of that, although we'll have to get the numbers to you. But so through TriMet's share of the STIF funding that we receive, the 50 million that we currently receive, we are able to fund the Grove Link in Forest Grove and Cornelius. We're able to fund the North Hillsborough Industrial Link, the Tualatin Shuttle, the Bethany Link, and the service along Durham Road between King City and I believe it goes to the Tualatin Park and Ride and the Tualatin Park and Ride. So those are funded with STIF money that we give to the county, and then the county funds those shuttles. Additionally, we give some money to SMART to operate extra trips on their Line 2X into the TriMet district to the Tualatin Park and Ride, and as well as money for them to operate a new service from Wilsonville to the Clackamas Town Center. That service has not launched yet, although they have reported that they hope to launch it in January.
Nick. Stephen, did you have your hand still up? Do you have anything more?
Yeah, I did. I had two things. I think number one was we do have a little more time, and I think Tom still maybe has some slides left that we haven't gotten to yet. If you want to try to wrap that up.
Sure.
Alternatively,
if we'd be interested in a little briefing on the transportation as a whole.
I would be very interested in seeing that. What's the rest of the team think? I'm seeing some nods and some
I'll be
thumbs up.
interested.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we're happy to do that.
Awesome.
And then Tom, we're seeing your presenter slides again.
Oh,
presenter view.
okay. Hold on. Let me.
Sure thing.
Okay.
PowerPoint used to be a lot simpler.
I know, right? There we go.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm working on 3 screens here now. Okay. So I mentioned earlier, we have an outreach process that's currently underway. That outreach process is not getting specific about lines. It's really getting specific about our approach. The first approach is, should we look to cut frequency? How often do buses and trains run? It's kind of one of those where it could be a shallow cut that affects more than half our riders, or the question is on the coverage, a deep cut that affects a very small number of our riders. So those are kind of the questions we're balancing, and then kind of in between that is the span of service. How late at night should it go? How early in the morning should it go? Things to consider, particularly the span of service and the coverage do have impacts to Lyft. Currently Lyft is, one of our most expensive services because it's picking people up and taking them directly to their location. And in those coverage areas, it's harder for us to kind of group rides together. It's really more kind of almost like a taxi service. When you look at the survey, it really gives you a sense of, for each of these approaches, what would the relative savings be and what would be the relative impact on rides. So when I go to my next slide here, this might be hard to see, I'm not sure. But this is just an example of what the service is, or the survey is, and you can see if there's just a $1 sign, then means it's a small savings. If it's $4 signs, that's a big savings. 1 person is a small impact in terms of rides, but 4 people is a big impact in rides. And we're asking people to really, it's kind of like ranked choice voting, really. It's rate, what if you have to cut, what would you cut first and what would you cut last, giving us a sense of what people prefer the most. And Mayor Rossman, I do want to acknowledge your concern about it being a scientific survey. We recognize that the higher ridership services are going to say, well, don't cut, frequency because more than half our ridership are rides on the frequent service lines. And the lower ridership ones, because there are fewer people, they're gonna not have as many votes for them. So we are looking at weighting those coverage options for folks so that we can kind of have a more even evaluation of the two.
Well, there's a third category, and I'm going to get on my soapbox again about this because I think this survey would be great for the mayors and electeds that are representing their communities. But if you were to send this survey if I emailed it to everyone in town, they don't ride the bus, they wouldn't even open it, right? So there's a third category of people that won't even take the survey because there is zero service in their eyes. So I think the importance of a scientific survey that really captures what the different communities want is really, really important. And I'm just going to be frank, I find these kind of surveys useless. They don't inform decision making, maybe at the very, very broad level. But when they're just emailed around, they don't tell me anything about what the community really wants.
Okay.
Mayor O'Neill.
I just echo that. And I also think that it's not scientific if it's not taking efforts to deal with the small transit communities and people like in Wilsonville that use this. So I think it's problematic.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So we got about 5 more minutes on this topic.
I
want to make sure you can get through your slides.
Yeah, I just have 2 slides.
Yeah.
So just what's happening between now and October 31st. It's again largely an online survey, but we are posting stops with QR codes for people to get onto the survey. We have events occurring. We have already completed 6 online open houses, and 5 of the 6. There's still 1 more to go, and we have 8 in-person open houses happening, all in the TriMet board member districts, and at all of them there'll be multilingual interpretation.
How many of those events are in Washington County?
2 of the 8 are in Washington County, at the Hillsborough Library and the Tualatin Library.
Chair Rossner, there's 1 in each of the board districts for TriMet's board, there are 7.
Yeah. And then we are partnering with community-based organizations to host the events as well as recruit partners. And you can get more details at trimet.org/service cuts. So obviously, we even ask you to get online, and if you haven't already, fill out the survey. We will reach back out in January when we have a specific proposal that mentions specific lines. And then we will be at that time launching a second round of service cuts. And just to reiterate, in regards to FX on TV Highway, we are still committed to that project and moving on. Oh, that says 3 major capital projects, but the one in Washington County being FX TV Highway.
All right.
Okay.
Councilor Rosenthal.
Yeah, just a quick question. Will there be a specific outreach to the transportation-oriented developments that are scattered around? And if there is, I assume that'll be broken out in some of the data analysis?
We hadn't thought of specifically reaching out to the various, apartment complexes and businesses that are built, say, along the Max line. It's something I can bring up to the outreach team to get their opinion on.
Okay, good.
All right. We've got 2 more minutes on this subject. Any other thoughts or questions? All right. Well, just a huge thanks to the TriMet team for coming in today. I hope you appreciate our candor. We want to make sure we, as all working together, we get this right. And as you notice, we definitely have some opinions, but it all comes from a place of trying to help and try to make sure we're serving our communities. So I appreciate you guys coming in and giving this update.
Thank you very much. Thank you for giving us the time.
Yeah, awesome.
Thank you, Chair.
All right, so it looks like it looks like we won't be having the regional emergency transportation routes review. That's why we got some extra time. We'll be rescheduling that. So we'll go ahead and move into the Metro Regional Housing Coordination Strategy. And Laura Combs and Aaron Keys, I think you're with us today.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm just going to pull up my screen. All right. Yes, I'll be giving the presentation today, and then Aaron will be here to answer any questions that y'all might have. But thank you so much for having us again. We were last at WCCC in July, and we're excited to be able to share this final draft list of actions with you all and give you kind of our last update on where we are with the Regional Housing Coordination Strategy process. The executive summary for this document was in your packet, and I'll also just note that the project website is on this title slide below if you all want to check that out for additional documents and resources. All right, so we'll just start off with a quick reminder about what this project is and where it comes from. This is Metro's required response as part of the Oregon Housing Needs Analysis Framework. You all may be really familiar that your own local jurisdictions, many of them are required to create their own housing production strategies as part of the ONA framework. For Metro as the regional government, we have a slightly different charge to create this coordination strategy. that also is working to achieve the same goals of producing more housing and promoting housing choice and fair housing in all of our communities across the region. We really wanted to focus on areas that Metro is best suited to fill any gaps in terms of resources, providing capacity and tools. And I think you'll see that reflected in our draft list of actions. So in this process now, we are nearing adoption. We were in our public comment period until Wednesday of this week, and then we will be sharing our drafts with MTAC and MPAC, our Metro committees, for their review. They will make their recommendations in November, and then our Metro Council will review all of those recommendations and adopt the final strategy in December. So we're wrapping up the process to be complete by the end of this year. Last time we came to you, I think we described a bit about our engagement process, but just at a high level, we worked very closely with our local jurisdictions, housing and planning staff to create and brainstorm a long list of actions. We also had a couple of different engagement efforts through focus groups with housing developers, service providers, community-based organizations as well, to make sure that their perspectives were captured when we were thinking about what barriers there are into producing housing and helping folks access housing, and what needs that they see Metro would be best suited to help address. We worked across departments within Metro ourselves, because this was a real collaborative effort between our housing department and our planning department. We also spoke with members of our government affairs team to understand from their perspective how we can also be best poised to help address needs in the region. We worked closely with our Metro committees and also did a fair bit of research and interviews based on engagement related to housing that Metro has done in the past few years. That was relevant for us to pull forward and carry those themes into this work as well. So we generated through that engagement a very long list of ideas. Our team combined similar ideas, added detail to some ideas, or in some cases removed ideas that were beyond Metro's purview of what we're allowed to do legally, or what made sense for us to do. Maybe some ideas were duplicative of things that other organizations are already working on. And we landed at a shorter list of 44 actions. This is what we brought to you at our last meeting, kind of where we are in the process of what rose to the top in that revised list of actions. We created an evaluation approach to help us prioritize and pull out different actions from that list to get a little bit deeper in our understanding of what those proposed actions would mean for our staff capacity, for the resources that we have within Metro, as well as understand the impact that those actions would have on actually producing housing units or expanding access to housing and housing choice. So after that evaluation and after hearing a lot of qualitative engagement from our different groups that we presented that list of 44 actions to, we landed on a narrowed down list of 16 actions across 6 different thematic categories. These 16 actions are things that we feel we can feasibly undertake over the next 6 years. That is the scope of the regional housing coordination strategy, is looking out over the next 6 years. And we think that they will help address a variety of needs through a variety of different roles that Metro can play on the regional scale. So our intention is to commit to implementing these actions immediately following council adoption. So as soon as the beginning of next year would be when we start work on these actions. Many of these actions will require some initial research, deeper targeted engagement to determine the way that the program itself could roll out, and for us to best consider what implementation would look like. And across all these actions, our housing and planning departments will continue to coordinate and share different lead roles on working on different actions, depending on our existing program functions. All right, so getting into the list itself, and in this first category of accelerate housing production, we heard broad support for many of these actions from our implementers work group. This was our working group of jurisdictional housing and planning staff. particularly from smaller jurisdictions who spoke to the benefit of having additional resources to help fill gaps for their for housing specific staff. We heard that some of the smaller jurisdictions don't have dedicated staff for pursuing new housing work or new strategies, and that it would be really helpful for them to have additional funding, technical assistance, and resources to be able to carry out some of their own ideas that are coming out from their own housing production strategies. In the next category of research and assessment, we heard broad support for action number 7. This is kind of a pretty broad action that encompasses different innovative approaches that we can take for both funding, construction types, and alternative home ownership models. So we heard strong support from our public comment period so far and from our implementers work group that this would really help kind of overcome some existing limitations that there might be from our existing low-income housing tax credit funding approaches. And there is just a strong interest in seeing Metro kind of take the lead on exploring other approaches. For our convene and coordinate and new tools themes, we heard quite a bit of support for an action that was focused on operational stabilization. This is one of our targeted actions that speaks more to preserving affordable housing that we already have rather than just pursuing construction of new affordable housing. So we heard from a lot of our stakeholders that this is an important element of the strategy is that focus on preservation as well as new development. And under the new tools category, we had a bit of a mixed feedback for actions 11, the Affordable Housing Listing Service, and for number 13, the Permitting and Production Dashboard, mostly about concerns about burdens of data collection on staff and the desire of keeping any tool that we create really user-friendly and relevant, as well as differentiated from what might already be available at the state level. So this was really helpful feedback for us considering how we would roll this out and what data we'd be looking to collect, and how we can make sure that we're not replicating work that's already happening and adding to that burden of local staff. The regional land bank plan action, number 12, this was broadly supported from our committees, our counselors, implementers work group, and the public's comment survey. So it's really exciting that we've had a lot of support for that action as we look to figure out what building that out would look like. All right, and these are our last 2 themes, policy and funding and cross-sector collaboration. I would say out of our whole list of actions, we've heard the most universal interest and support for numbers 15 and 16. Many participants talk about the limitation of funds and resources, and we really heard about the importance of us to work together as a region in a very clear and focused way through our advocacy efforts to bring more resources and funds into the region. So I think, across all of our service providers and implementers and through the public comment period as well, we've heard that one has really risen to the top as something that we could get started working on and be poised to implement. All right, so next steps, we are wrapping up the public comment period. We have a survey that is available until Wednesday. We will be also meeting with our Metro Technical Advisory Committee on Wednesday as well to hear their initial feedback on the draft strategy. The project can be found on the website listed on this slide. And if you have any other additional feedback that you'd want to share, feel free to email our team at the email listed here as well, or reach out to me or Erin directly. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, we are moving towards that adoption phase. So we will be meeting with MTAC and MPAC over the next few months and then wrapping up with council adoption in December. So that is where we're headed. And that's it for me. So if you all have any questions, we'd be happy to answer them based on what this update that we were able to share.
Well, thank you very much, Laura, for that presentation. Do we have any questions? Mayor O'Neill.
Yes, thank you so much for the presentation. I appreciate that Metro is trying to coordinate with us in their lead role in the understanding broader trends. How do we, on Action 9, how can we be assured that this is collaboratively work with the cities, because each city does things differently? And how do we capture the diversity and unique needs of the different cities in the region when you put that action 9 together?
Action number 9 is affordable housing operational stabilization strategy. Unfortunately, you have 2 members of the planning department at Metro here and not the housing department. So we may need to follow up with you to give you details on this. But what you're looking for specifically, I think, is an understanding of coordination. Do you mind telling me a little bit more about what you're looking for, and I can try to get you an answer?
Well, each city does things differently, and so for us, we just want to make sure this isn't a top-down directive, a mandate that, Wilsonville has a certain way that we're doing together. How do we capture that what we do in Wilsonville may be different than other cities like Sherwood or some others, and that collaborative nature as opposed to some sort of mandate directive from Metro downhill?
Yeah, absolutely. There is no intent currently in this plan, and there's no action, so not limited to action 9, but I can say with confidence all of the actions to mandate anything on the cities. The ability for Metro to put requirements or policies on the cities outside of a funding source is only available in the Urban Growth Management Functional Plan and the Regional Transportation Functional Plan. And those actions aren't included here. Any changes to those that would add policies that put requirements. This action in particular is about stabilizing the affordable housing that exists out in the world right now. So it's not about producing new housing, but there have been concerns about the costs and rising costs associated with those existing units and making sure that they remain affordable over the long term. So Metro's intent with this action is to help do some of the research and identify what some of the needs are and identify how to be helpful, but not to create policy that would put additional requirements on cities or counties.
Thank you.
Thanks, Aaron. Any other questions? I have one quick question or maybe comment on the kind of one source or data for permitting data in the region. Just as a note, the state of Oregon purchased on behalf of cities the Acela permitting platform, which a lot of cities have migrated to. And I know they have the ability to pull a lot of that data at that level. I'm not sure all of our cities in the metro region are using that, but just as a note, we've had challenges getting that data, and getting it out in a format that we could use. So I'd like to have some conversations. We don't have to do it in this meeting about that and how do we get truth on the ground regional.
Yeah, we have included this because of the interest from our stakeholders in having, but I'll tell you that our staff has been looking into it and we don't think there's a clear way to do this yet. So that's why the language of the action is to explore it, because we don't have a clear idea of how we would actually do it or where the data would come from. And we're also going to work more with the state over the next couple of weeks to understand how to avoid duplication with them. So yeah, this one's definitely an idea that's not fully figured out, but there was a desire from stakeholders to see what that permitting data is, but we don't know how to access it. It's like you've said, there's a variety of different data and we don't know how we would do it.
And a weird quirk of fate here, in a previous life, I worked for Acela and I actually helped negotiate that state contract. So I know a lot about that contract and what's available. So we can have some offline conversations if you want.
That would be good. That would be good. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right.
Hey,
well,
Tim.
thank you. Oh, who's that?
Mayor Delane.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Hey, maybe I'm asking the wrong question, but I've asked it a bunch of places and I haven't seemed to get an answer. And the question in the simplest form is, what's my fair share? It feels lately like Cornelius may be getting a little of the dumping effect on shelters and affordable housing. And the question is, what what's a fair share for a community? I'm next to Hillsborough that's, over 100,000 people. I'm small by comparison to that, but big in comparison to North Plains or Banks. Yeah, I know they're not in Metro, but part of it is understanding really if we've got some distributed services, what is a reasonable amount of affordable housing? I mean, when we did the library, we put in senior affordable housing, 43 units. Are we on track? Are we off track? To me, that's almost the larger question about regional housing quantities, right? What's an appropriate amount to have where? I'll pick on them because they're not here and it's easy. Lake Oswego. How much affordable housing should be in Lake Oswego? How much workforce housing should be in Lake Oswego, right? They have a very different demographic than mine, right? I have longer commutes, lower income, and larger families. So that would be, I would think, more in Metro's wheelhouse to look at that regional information and help us understand what's are we in a band of somewhere of how much affordable? Because as I move forward, I've almost used up all the land that's available in my 123 acres. That was my 20-year allotment. We did a lot of row homes. We did a lot of high density. The lots are very small. How much of that is my responsibility, right? What's my responsible share? So as we look around the region, are other people pulling their weight, or are they really offloading it to places like Cornelius or others? So that would be my question.
Well, it's not a question that I can answer because it's not regional distribution of affordable housing is not addressed in this plan. Instead, the state is giving giving housing targets to each city in our region with more than 10,000 population. And that includes specific targets for different affordability levels. So I think that's a new thing that's happened in the last year that gives us more direction as a region about fair share, but it doesn't cover every single city. Not all of the 24 cities in our region are big enough to have those assignments, but some of the ones that you're talking about, like Oswego do, and that lays out what the state has said is Lake Oswego's share of housing at different affordability levels. I hope that helps.
Thank you.
And one more quick question, running just a little bit long, Councilor Rosenthal.
Just a quick question for Aaron is, do we have a mapping? I noticed that brownfields made the list of priority items. Do we have a mapping of where brownfield sites are and a screening of those that may or may not be potentially suitable according to all the jurisdictions that we have?
Suitable for housing development?
Yeah, I mean, some brownfields have the kind of contamination that you can't put housing over.
Right.
So there are limitations. I mean, there's certain kinds of brownfields that, they come in different colors. So do we have a mapping of where these potential brownfield sites are? We can always do the screening later, of course.
I believe that we have some of that information. The action in this plan is specific to expanding the existing brownfields program that exists at Metro, which provides currently funding for the assessment of brownfield sites. And they have maps and information about the sites, both that they've provided funding to that identify levels of contamination and then what those properties are eligible to become. But right now that program doesn't have any funding available beyond assessment for actual cleanup. And so this concept here is to provide additional funds either for additional assessment and or cleanup of those sites. And so it is really focused on the assessment and cleanup of sites for housing. So I hope that gets at your question.
Yeah, it says we're still at the stage of trying to figure out where those sites might be and how many there are, not at the stage of we know where they are and we can clean them up.
We do know where a lot
we
of
know where some of them are, yeah.
Yeah, we can get started on cleanup for certain, and on properties that that are in locations well served by transit, and that we think are good candidates for housing. But there's limited funding right now to clean them up.
All right. Well, thank you, Aaron and Laura, for coming today and presenting. Super appreciate it. And
Thank you.
we're going to go ahead and move on to our next agenda item, which is an MTAC representative discussion. We do have a MTAC position that's opened up. And when we were having our Mayor Pace and I were having our coordination meeting with staff in preparation for this meeting, we had a long conversation about, what makes sense in terms of how we nominate these folks and where they come from. And we talked a lot about it would be as an MPAC representative myself, it would be really beneficial that Sherwood staff was representing so we can coordinate our activities as we're representing small cities. But that's not a decision I can make. Mayor Pace was in general agreement with that, but we thought that should be a conversation for this group. Ultimately, out of this, we need to nominate and approve someone for MTAC. We've had a couple people interested. I don't know if Jessica got those out, but we received 2 letters expressing interest, one from the city of Tigard for Sambo and one from city of Sherwood for Eric Rutledge. And then I believe, reading my notes here, where was that? Who was the other person, Stephen? Thought there was someone else. Oh, Barbara Fryer.
We'd heard anecdotally that Barbara Fryer from Cornelius was interested.
Barbara Fryer is interested. And just for clarity, Barbara Fryer's with
Cornelius. She's
Cornelius,
the community development director.
Right. And Jeff's the alternate MPAC for other cities in Washington County representative for the on MPAC. So anyway, I'll just open it up for the room. So the first question is, what do we think about that alignment, or should we just do what we've always done and just nominate and approve people? Jeff, you had some thoughts on this when we talked.
You saw me unmute.
Yeah.
I think it's okay to not have direct alignment. I mean, for JPAC, I meet with Hillsborough and other cities, right? There's staff from the technical advisory committee, and I think those are good cross-pollination opportunities. So I don't think there is a mandate for alignment. It's good people that represent this committee and can represent the committee as a whole. I mean, you guys hear me sometimes make the very obvious statement, right? I may not agree with the decision, but the decision that Washington County Coordinating Committee makes is the one I will represent at JPAC. So I think that's more important on our representatives that are people that aren't carrying an agenda, that it's more about, if this group comes to an opinion or an idea, that they carry that forward, even if it isn't wholly aligned to their own singular. So my 2 cents. Thank you.
No, thank you for that. Marina, I'm sorry. I just want to comment on what he said real quick. I agree with you. What I wondered, part of my thinking is that there's not where is the MTAC representative getting that impact or that input, sorry, from a group like this, right? So you're right. We'll sit around and talk about what our position is on a vote that's coming up at JPAC or MPAC, but we're not doing the same thing at the MTAC level. So that's kind of partly where my thought process came in on this when I was talking to Peach about it. Mayor Pro Tem Wolf.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I probably would lean towards Mayor Dillon's approach in that, clearly, full disclosure, wrote a recommendation letter for Sambo Kirkman from Tigard. But what I wonder are 2 things. I kind of like the broader idea, more cities represented, more opportunities to give input. And then from a process improvement, how do you improve that information flow so that you're getting that content? But clearly, I'm also in support of Sambo having that opportunity. So I'll be upfront about that too. So thank you for the opportunity to share.
Thank you. Any other thoughts? Councilor Harris, or Council President Harris, sorry.
Thank you. I had a conversation with Mayor Pace. I know that she was supportive of Mr. Rutledge's nomination to this, and she understood the thinking that went behind it. So I just wanted to make sure that was out there on the table, let you know Mayor Pace's position.
Great, thank you. Any other thoughts? So it doesn't sound like there's a rounding, a stampede to change our thought process, which is fine. We just wanted to throw it out there, but we can continue to nominate as we always have. I would like to explore how do we make sure we maintain that coordination in terms of what this group's priorities are as we go into those votes at the MPAC level and make those recommendations to the Metro Council. Stephen.
I did want to just make a note that all of the staff are sort of talking with each other too at your WCCC TAC, your Technical Advisory Committee, and then we also convene a roundtable of the planning directors across the county. So there's a lot of information sharing that's happening sort of across the staffs that are there too. So hopefully all the different staff members that are likely to participate in these efforts are kind of in the know about where folks are at.
All right. Great. I completely forgot about that. Thank you. Okay, awesome. So we do, can we go ahead and just fill that seat now? Do you guys want to take care of that now? I'm going to assume the lack of any comment is a yes. So we have 3 people that were interested. Stephen, how do we do this when we have multiple people? Do we just take a nomination and then vote on it?
Yeah, I think if you're interested in moving forward now, I would recommend maybe just making sure that you've taken all motions from the floor. And then I think look for seconds or motions and seconds on, you can just go maybe individually or just seek out motions, and then we can move from there.
Okay. So I think we have 3, so let's just do them. So Rob, do we want to start with, did you want to make a nomination? And we can vote on that one and then move on to the next one if need be, or does that work for you?
Sure. I mean, I will nominate Eric Rutledge to this position. I don't know whether we want to nominate everyone and then take a poll vote to see what the results are, how you want to do this. Happy to nominate.
I always hate these things when there's multiple candidates.
I would second that motion for Eric Rutledge.
Okay, thank you. And just keeping in mind, we'll do these one at a time, but I want everyone to be aware that we also have, I'm sure we'll have a nomination for Sambo from Tigard, and then assuming we have one for Barbara Fryer from Cornelius. So we got a motion for Eric Rutledge from Rob Harris, a second from Jeff Dehlin. All those in favor say aye. Raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Am I counting right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We got 7. All right. All those opposed?
So point of order. So Tim, do you have a quorum? I mean, a majority? Because if you do, then it seems like we would just stop after that. But
We would. Yeah.
Okay.
So this is why I hate these, because it's just,
Yeah.
it's just never fun. So on
And
the
that will-
no's, who did Maureen, I saw yours. Was there any other no's? Okay, so then with that, it looks like Eric Rutledge is our new representative on the MTAC.
So
All right.
Chair Rosner, I wanted to note, confirm, yes, that would be a majority. And so I think that's fine. And then we also are looking for both a primary and an alternate representative.
Okay, so the current alternate is, don't we have an alternate already assigned right now?
I'm gonna look to
Maybe I
just,
can add in here.
yeah, thank you.
The alternate was Miranda Bateshell from Wilsonville, and she's let us know that she can't serve anymore as alternate. So actually, your committee, you need to be appointing two people
Okay.
to this position, one to serve as member and one to serve as alternate.
Thank you for that clarification. Do I have a nomination for the alternate? I imagine I do.
Sambo.
I'll second.
All right. So we have a nomination from Mayor DeLynn for Sambo from Tigard, and Mayor Pro Tem Wolf from Tigard seconded that. All those in favor say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same. And any abstentions? Motion passes. All right. Thank you, everyone. And with that, we will go to our regional committee updates. We have about 15 minutes left. So the first one will be JPAC, Mayor DeLynn and Commissioner Fye.
I'm looking through my notes here, trying to let's see, emergency routes. One item on there was about emergency routes. We talked about it here. We didn't get our presentation. I think the only thing I picked up out of it is a concern for the disjointed treatment of Cornelius Pass for our purposes. It breaks down at the Washington County to Multnomah County line. So I was planning to bring that up as a point of concern. Either it's an emergency pass to get from 26 to 30 or it's not. So we'll need to come to some kind of agreement on there. I think one of the other points on my notes is just a comment around the study coordination between Metro and the Tri-County areas, right? I think there's an opportunity for us to continue to be more staff efficient and effective at not duplicating or replicating studies efforts when we have focused efforts. I know Washington County's done several different ones, and then we see a few months later the same one with a slightly different answer from Metro. So I think there's an opportunity for better coordination there. I think that's the key couple I had. Nafisa, did you have something else I'm missing on my notes? Is she still here?
Right. Well, thank you for that update. We'll go ahead and move on to MPAC. Our coordinating meeting for the MPAC meeting that's coming up on the 22nd got pushed out, so I don't have the benefit of knowing what specifically we're going to be talking about. I think we're meeting tomorrow on that. So, Mayor DeLynn, did you have anything on the last MPAC meeting? We got the housing update.
No, I remember taking that one remote from the out-of-state call in.
Yeah.
So I was just kind of listening along and listening to it. So thank you.
Yeah, and we had an update on the housing needs analysis, which y'all just got. So in that meeting.
I think you and I get the opportunity to sometimes see these presentations 3 and 4 times.
I think for me that was my 3rd time. Yes. And then we'll move on to R1 Act. Mayor Bubenek, Mayor Winslow, do you have anything for us?
I think Mayor Winslow left. She's back in class,
right.
so it'll be me. At the R1 Act, the first thing on the agenda was ODOT gave an update on the transportation package. Ryan Winsheimer described the funding that's coming through. We all were aware what the legislature came up with as far as funding, but the direct impacts right now are they have quite a few hundreds of vacancies in ODOT that need to fill. A lot of folks have left during the turmoil. Right now, they're focusing on filling maintenance positions, getting those folks trained by the winter time. And they're going to start staffing up DMV because DMV staffing has gone down during the fiscal turmoil of ODOT. After that presentation, they gave a presentation to OTC that's available. I'm sorry, not to OTC, to the Joint Transportation Committee. If you go to Alice, you can go ahead and pull down the PowerPoint presentation they gave. Pretty interesting stats in there, but mission number one for ODOT right now is to get staffing levels back to where they need to be for the winter. They know they're going to have a bunch of positions they're not going to fill to keep their budget stable, but they're moving on. Right after that was an e-scooter presentation from the city of Tualatin on the success of e-scooters here in the city of Tualatin and how if other cities want to join up with us and expand their program or look into it, our public works people are willing to chat and let you know what's going on with the e-scooters. We then had a presentation on the Washington County micro transit. There's a pilot project out in Beaverton and River Terrace using STIF funds that will give transportation options to South Cooper Mountain, Progress Ridge, River Terrace, and Murray Hill. It will start on January 26th. It will function through the end of April and of 27 for 15 months. They'll provide microtransit options between 6 a.m. and 8 p.m. Monday through Friday. And then finally, the project manager of the ADA curb ramp delivery program gave a presentation. Back in 2016, ODOT was ordered to fix the ODOT curb cuts throughout the state. It's a 15-year plan. Tony Snyder is the project manager. They have 27,000 curb ramps to fix in the state of Oregon. They're lagging a little bit behind, but they're starting to get a little bit of momentum as the contractors are getting better and better at doing these curb cut fixes. Their goal is to be completed by 2031 or 2032, somewhere around there. As of now, they've completed 11,000 of the curb cuts. And specifically to Region 1, there are 3,810 projects currently in progress. And that's it for me.
Thank you. And with that, we're on to other business and agency updates. Any updates from the county that they wanted to throw in here at the end? That sounds like a no. And from all of our cities and partners here in the meeting, do you have any updates or fun news from your communities you want to share? Mayor Kirk.
Well, sort of feeding off the R1, and when we had Northwest Act last week, luckily we are actually saving our Manning station, so that will not be closed. They have 16 positions out there that only about 6 of them they will be filling this year. So if you're going to be going to the beach, you're going to have to make sure you take your 4x4 because you're not going to have any decent plowing. And also it's takes 2 years and a tanker type A CDL to actually train for those positions. So we're going to be lacking for a while. Also, just for your guys' information regarding the curb ramps, they're going to be coming through banks probably the end of next year, and it's not just updating them, it's also making sure that they have the ramps on the other side also, because our Highway 47 Main Street tends to have a lot of ADA ramps on the east side, but not on the west side. So we're actually going to be losing parking, substantial amount of parking on our west side as that crew comes through. Otherwise, the only other thing that I would like to put under future agenda topics is maybe sometime down the line, maybe after the first of the year, that we also incorporate Northwest Act into the regional updates.
Great. We'll talk about that in our coordinating meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor Bubenec.
Just a plug for the picture behind me. that the West Coast Pumpkin Regatta is this Sunday from 10 to 4. Get to Tualatin early because we're anticipating probably a crowd of about 25,000 people. So get here early. Some folks, you might want to get here Saturday night at Stickman. They have the Pumpkin and Pints event where we do the weigh off of the pumpkins at Stickman Brewery. So Tualatin be very a jumping place this weekend.
Thank you, Frank. Anything else? All right, well, I'm going to throw out one plug. If you have little ones who like Halloween, look up Pirates of Pinehurst and Sherwood, our big region. I shouldn't say regional. We have a neighborhood that hosts a big event every year. They have shows Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night. Bring your kids. It's a lot of fun. And just you can look it up online, piratesofpinehurst.org. It's well worth the trip out here. So think of what is it, Peppermint? What is the place in Portland that does the Christmas decorations?
Peacock Lane. Peacock Lane, yeah.
Yes, yeah. Think of that, but for Halloween with shows and candy and little glow-in-the-dark trinkets for all the kids. So, all right. Anything else? All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Great meeting. Huge thank you to Washington County staff, Stephen, and your team for helping coordinating this and putting it all together. And we will see you all next month.
Thanks all.
See you.